Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining my webinar today, Boosting Communication Power in the AI. It's the second one in the series. And today we're talking about jumping the strategy execution ravine. And is it pain or gain? Are you going to have pain and fall into the canyon of not delivering or executing, or will it be jumping the ravine and gaining the glory of delivery? I kind of think it's going to be pain and gain. The adage of no pain and no gain. In my experience, the pain of execution can't be avoided. It can be a joyous thing as well, but it takes real work and tenacity to jump that ravine. And then when you get over it and you've got your results and you're successful, you get to celebrate and having done it, having done a great job. I'm Katie Young. I'm the founder and director of ICY, and I'm your host for today. I'm really excited to have you on my webinar. I'm passionate about powerful communication practices and how they help people move forward in businesses and organizations. I just want to qualify quickly on the word communication here. I think it's used a lot in a lot of different contexts. For me, as a communication practitioner, it's about business and organizational communication and all that this encompasses. So you've got your external communication, which is websites, social media, events, and then you also have internal, which is intranet, Microsoft 365, employer branding. And I think these form an ecosystem of communication, especially today as we have social media in the mix and LinkedIn, where people are sharing their thoughts, etc. So an interesting area of practice for me. So thanks a lot, and I'm looking forward to an exciting journey with you today. A few points, just some housekeeping. The session is recorded and available afterwards on my website. If you have questions or comments, the Q&A is open. This is just between you and me. It's a closed session for us, so we're safe here. Please be very open on the Q&A. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. And as far as the next webinars go, they'll be shared at the end of the session. So let's get started. What's it all about? So we're going to be looking at building focus to jump the ravine, helping you to gain knowledge in what it means to construct focus. We're going to watching out for the canyon of distraction. So as I said, falling into that ravine and understanding the signs and costs to strategic execution by losing common focus. Creating safe spaces, image, language, and stories. So that's what I'm going to go into really around the communication aspect of it, which I love so much, is creating these safe spaces where people can execute and jump that ravine really well. And then finally, as I said, we're looking at the age of AI. It's here, we're living it. It's very consumer focused now. So we're going to be looking at how it can be a focus killer or a booster, hopefully a booster, and what part our humanity still plays in this exciting period. So just as I was looking in my webinar in April, we did look in Strategy 101 at what we need to jump this famous ravine. And you're going to hear that word quite a bit from me today. Sorry if it gets a bit much, but it's a canyon or a ravine. And what we need to build focus is we need to build focus. So we're going to really look at that today. Sorry, I got a bit distracted on a little thing that came up on the webinar screen there. And what we need to build it and how we then build engagement, ownership, and accountability across organizations and businesses to ensure that we get across that ravine and deliver. We also need to co-create and maintain those all important processes, supporting execution on the strategy, and measuring and monitoring the KPIs that are very important. Also, if you have to communicate further as to how far your execution is going and how good a job you're doing on it. So, what does it mean to build collective focus? And here I would like you all to get your pens and paper out and just think a little bit about what that could mean for you in your organizations, and if you feel that you maybe have had some practice in this. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you what I feel it means to build that collective focus. So, to begin with, everyone across your organization and your business understands the strategy. And this really goes on the old adage of if you don't understand something, there's no way that you can translate it and start to do work that actually delivers on it. Each team translates it into actionable steps to deliver. So, this actionable steps is very important. And each team engages and understands the strategy. And then it then goes down to the people, of course. So each person gets their part in the puzzle and how it relates to their daily work. So this is really where the team and the individual goals and objectives come into play. And as a communication practitioner within organizations, we work very closely with HR on that to make sure that people's objectives and goals and managers are working on that principle to have people deliver on the overall strategy through these smaller objectives and goals. Having clear processes in place that allows the team to collaborate across a business and an organization. And this is also extremely important with AI and intelligence learning coming into the mix because processes are incredibly important to put any of these new intelligence into our organizations. And then people knowing and owning the measurements that they're moving the bar on. This is super important. You need to be able to understand what it is you're delivering. And also you need that to come back to you and have a look at them, not only at the end of a reporting cycle, but also throughout what you're doing. So for me in communication, this is sadly a step that gets left off quite easily. We do have great measurements now, and if you use them, you can really be agile and create a way forward with that execution. So what do we have in the Q&A that's coming through? If people wanted to add what it means for them to build collective focus, that would be wonderful. Yeah, so we have Arena, which is great. Thank you for your thinking here. For me, another important one is to keep reminding the final goal in meetings and discussions to check back. Is what we are doing and discussing contributing to our strategy? Yeah, great. That constant check back in smaller meetings is really very useful here. Um, and William similarly talks around Irina's point of view that short meetings that bring people together, regular meetings on outcomes and measurements. So this regularity of meetings that it's not, and useful meetings, not ones that don't have any outcomes or next steps in them. Okay, so thanks very much for your input on that one. This brings me also to another aspect that is essential in building this collective focus. And here I wanted to share the word of IWD-GT-DWS. And I also wanted to recognize that Anne-Catherine, great to have you with us. Anne-Catherine is having this common purpose at the beginning to start with. So is that existent in the organization and the business? So yes, very important there. And that is understanding the importance of that and having leaders understand that this is an essential part of communicating and getting people motivated is sort of a first step, I suppose. So then I come to my acronym, which is not on the screen. IWDGTWDWS stands for if we don't get this done, we're screwed. So IWDGTDWS, if we don't get this done, we're screwed. Sorry for the little bit of rude words in there, but it is that feeling of a feeling that if this isn't done, we're not going to be able to continue and continue our business well. So, and here I've got this building this sense of urgency is really essential. And I've got the 5 reasons around that, or human psychological levers, that show that this is very important. If you want people to move and jump that ravine, we need to create this sense of urgency. So we've got temporal motivation theory, with this motivation for focusing effort. Urgency sharpens focus by compressing time and increasing perceived importance, and it activates the brain's dopaminergic reward system and focuses on the effort as the deadline approaches. We've also got goal setting as a driver. We all have that idea. Well, I use a lot of goals in what I do, and it's very important to have this, you're trying harder, and makes people try harder and raise the bar. And here it's very important to recognize that humans are motivated by clear and challenging goals, not ones that are vague and easy. So you need to raise the bar and make people motivated by clear and challenging goals, and then also making it time bound. So we have that temporal motivation that comes in there, sharpening ambition. Interesting, loss aversion. People are more motivated through the fear of loss than gaining something. So if you're setting a deadline and the fear of not meeting it is also elevates the motivation to help people avoid failure. We've got Zeigarnik effect. This is somebody, Bloomer Zeigarnik. This is from the 1930s, even the beginning of last century. Looked at people and how they remember a task. Actually, you remember something that's unfinished or interrupted more than something that's completed. So again, this time bound and creating this sense of urgency gives a psychological tension that allows people then to move and execute and really deliver on strategy. And the brain also wants to close loops. We want to close them, so that urgency keeps it open and keeps people focused. Then, of course, we've got social accountability and status. If you don't deliver on this goal, I'm going to let the team down. If we don't get this done, we're screwed. These social comparison and reputation concerns are important to get people moving and to realize that they're a part of a team, and we are also have this social accountability around. So that's my wonderful acronym. I hope that people are able to retain it. I'll send it out again just as a reminder. And I wanted just to go over what happens when we do fall into the canyon of distraction. Oh, it's not a nice place to be when your team are not really sure of where they're wanting to go. And I'll share some of my thinking around what happens when people fall into the canyon. And I would love to hear from you as in the Q&A of experiences that you have maybe had of this canyon of distraction, which is not a comfortable place to be. Okie dokie. I'll start. Let's see, somebody's typing. So yeah, giving up, and Katrine is saying giving up, quiet quitting, disengaging. Yeah, indeed. And again, morale in the team going down when you realize that, yeah, that things are not going the way we'd hoped, and there is that demotivation. And from my perspective, in line with what you've been saying, that we see a wastage and a loss of precious human resources. Here I have the picture of somebody sort of holding on with their fingers. And another sign for me is sort of a busyness instead of delivery, and people sort of having a facade of doing lots of hard work and being very snowed under by requests from other people. And I find that then that becomes the narrative of the company or the organization that you're working for, rather than being about delivering and having the success and the fun of actually delivering on strategy. And yeah, high stress levels and burnout. So that also goes into the people giving up and things just being too much. Demotivation. I've got a picture of Santa here. I'll reflect on that in a moment, where Santa comes in. But indeed, the morale of the team, Irina said, and disengagement, demotivation, lack of reason for being there, a loss of drive for delivery, and as Anne-Catherine also said, quiet quitting. So it's really your best talent leaving, which is exactly the opposite of what any business wants. Your people are really the key to your business, and that's not what we need. So another area sign of falling into that canyon of delivery of canyon of distraction is having people really being there for personal gains. I perceive quite a lot of talking about when I'm next going on holiday, or it's really just about turning up for work so that I get paid and then I can go off and get a cheap flight somewhere. It's yeah, these personal reasons to work, and inefficiency actually sort of becomes the goal of sitting in front of a computer and whiling away the hours. And you'll know the idea of having an email ping pong with somebody, or where you just get rid of the mail and it's somebody else's problem, or also long meetings with no next steps and no time-bound deliveries. Pretty frustrating stuff. Similarly, political takeovers, team delivery really centering on the power over your collaboration. So as the image shows, just a degree of frustration where it's about what people are saying, what the boss has said yesterday maybe, and not today. And yeah, this canyon of distraction and not knowing the direction and the strategy and how you're going to get something can fall into this area quite easily. So that's the difficult area of it, to look at a more positive side about it and how we don't fall into that area of distraction. I want to talk about the visibility and the role of stories, visuals, language, and behavior. And here I've put Santa Claus because it's this amazing image of somebody actually developed this image by Coca-Cola of a person that brings joy and creates a safe space for people to celebrate and be. And I think for me, a key aspect of communication is delivering the strategy, but in a safe space, with places where people feel they belong, they're part of a collective, they have a sense of calm. And then we use these red threads of communication, of visual recognition, shared stories on strategy and execution, the repetition of these shared stories so that people know where they are. As Irina said, to have short team meetings where you find out where your end goal is and how you're doing towards getting there. And then continuity across the touch points. And this also includes external and internal, so that people get an idea of feeling of a part of a whole that is delivering towards something greater. So my insights on leaping the strategy execution ravine, and then we're nearly coming to a close, and then we'll move to the Q&A as well for you all. I'm a little bit over time, but these are important. We're creating a common understanding of what strategy is and why this path is good for now. So what Anne-Catherine said was in terms of having a purpose to begin with. So that's very important. And this is with the alignment at the beginning. And we talked about that in my last webinar. Everyone knowing the ITD GWS. So if we don't get this done, we're screwed. this urgency that has to get people, bring people across that ravine, adopting the mindset and behaviors to support this. Then we have the creation of the narrative and the sharing the stories and hitting repeat, repeat, repeat. And their communication plays an essential role, obviously, and strategy is people-centered, and execution is people-centered, and people are smart and they're adaptable and they're agile, and this can't be forgotten in execution. One of the best leaders that I've worked with came together every morning with his team, and they were just talking quickly about what they had to do and sharing, and then linking it to the overall goals of that week and maybe for the quarter. So this smart and adaptable aspect is very key. And I think if people know around agile and Scrum mindset, this is a very nice platform to use here. And people owning the measurables, knowing what are they actually delivering on, and celebrating when it's achievable. John, who helps me a lot, he gave me an insight into, he had worked on an IT project and that wasn't really delivering. And a new leader came in, and the first thing that he actually did was offer everybody 2 bottles of champagne, and it completely changed the group dynamic, and they did really well towards it was a completely different dynamic towards delivery. And then also coming through work with John is planning as your execution protector. And I think planning is essential to ensure that you're getting places, and also in communication, we are the planners of the organization. You know that the results are coming up. You're going to need to talk about how the company has gone. You need to pull the information together from people, and it's a very essential role in gaining the input from people across the teams, and for people to be accountable and have engagement. So this, I've just drawn this beautiful red line that shows how the role of communication is so important in creating common understanding, helping this sense of urgency, creating narratives that create safe spaces, and the essential roles that managers obviously play and in their communication, people owning the measurement and planning and executing. So AI and the Ravine, we've had a look at how can it help us to build powerful communication. Like I said in my last webinar, it's here. It's definitely something that we need to work with. It will bring new ways of working. I liked Buddhist monk perspective on it, that it's an amplification of human abilities. So it is really going to, if it works in the positive sense, then it's going to amplify human abilities in an incredible way. I've seen some examples around education on this. Also today, I just saw a small video of a young boy who created a machine, an AI machine that could read his thoughts and get a hand to move, a prosthetic hand to move. So it's going to be a new era in what we can and will develop. It is experimental, and people are discovering and learning as we go along, and this is the stage we're in. So will it help to deliver powerful communication that supports the leap from strategy to execution? That's the question. I give it a resounding yes, but the same insights apply. We still need to have people understand the strategy and translate them into actionable steps. And this becomes even more important when you move into automation of work processes, which is what is driving the artificial intelligence. We still need the ITD, DWS. If we don't get this done, we're screwed. That sense of urgency to jump over. The AI is not necessarily going to include that. It's still the humans that are going to need to be able to do that, make that step. They definitely can be helpful in setting that narrative and repeating on it. and also giving you the measurables and showing how you're going. In planning, it can help as well. But a key aspect of it that you see is that the human is the responsible party. So whether you're working with these new artificial intelligent tools and new ways of working, in the end, you're still a responsible person. So for me, I learned had a good lesson of working with ChatGPT, getting quotes for some social media posts, and in digging a little further, I realized that they weren't quotes at all. They'd pulled different pieces of the research from all over the place, and their page numbers were incorrect. So we really need to be careful that knowing that you're the responsible party still, and being careful of the bots being your biggest fan. So they will give you information, and it's only if you say, "Hey, what's that? That's not correct." They'll say, "Oh, that was a good idea. You had the right thing." So you always need to take these things with a grain of salt. Alrighty, so that brings me to the end of the webinar. I'm a little over time. Please reach out to me if you want to speak with me on any of these topics. I'd love to speak further. The next webinars are always with AI in mind. Next time we'll look a bit more practically into content production, planning and processes. It is one that's a busy part of communicating or marketing. And so I think that would be good to look at the tools there that are available. And then in November, I'd like to look at lessons learned in 2025. What are the trends for 2026? And my first webinar is ready to be watched again. And if you want to scan the QR code, you're very welcome. Or you can go to my website, katieyoung.com/webinars. So thank you all very much. And let's move to the Q&A. If people have some final thinking that we can do before we head off to lunch. I'm sure everybody is getting hungry. It's that time of day, which is always a lovely one, a bite to eat. So, yeah, I have a question from Iman. What happens if you can't relate the strategic objectives to what you're doing and you find them untranslatable? Yeah, I think you need to talk to the full team and the person and your leader, your manager, to see if everyone agrees on that point. Maybe people within your team and your manager understand it. And I think you just need to ask questions to understand better what is being asked. And with those questions, continue to question how your work fits into the strategy. And there should be answers there. Thanks a lot for that question. Um, and Connor says, what do you do if people don't want to communicate? Yes, again, I think then it's could you be maybe set an example of yourself? Asking open questions and try and understand the reasoning for this, using the lines of communication that are open to you. So there are chat tools, networks, meetings, emails, sharing your results as best you can, and in that way, setting the example for yourself. Then a final question, how do you align people's actual behavior to what is communicated? Here, I think it's really about showing the right positive path or the positive path, the things that people should be doing, how they are obtaining objectives and goals. And again, speaking to people and asking questions as far as why they're actually behaving as they are, and using maybe non-violent communication techniques of saying where you are at and the effects that it has on you to understand the person better. And hopefully it helps everybody learn and grow. So there we go. I have Irina who said no questions from me and thank you. It went very smoothly. Looking forward to the next one. Me too. I wish you all a very good day. Enjoy your lunches and I'm looking forward to the next one as well. Thank you very much. And if you want to, thank you. If you want to reach out to me, LinkedIn is a great place. And also you can go to my website, katieyoung.com/contact and set up a meeting anytime. And I've got a few slots in there as to when people can have a 20-minute discussion on any of the topics covered. So thanks again and have a great day. Bye-bye.